All right, everything in place, and I think we are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Shallow End. It's Matt here, and with me is Adam. Hey, Adam.
Hello.
We're going to have a short one today. Hopefully, we're going to have a little fun talking about some discourse going on in Magic, but nothing too strenuous. I got a long day at work tomorrow, so we'll see what's going on. How have things been going with you, Adam?
All right for the most part. Just getting ready for a long month at work.
Yeah, yeah. It's been preparation time for Adam at his stuff, and I've been doing stuff getting ready for work as well, and hopefully the next couple weeks will be uh, good. Just something to go. Uh, let's see. I think we'll go ahead and start with a spoiler card that I saw today. I don't usually bother with the spoilers and what's going on, but I think that this particular card is kind of funny. They made a card called Jeweled Lotus. It's a spoiler from Commander Legends. It's zero cost artifact. You tap it and sack it to create 3 mana of any one color. You can only use this mana to cast your commander. So it is absolutely 100% a Black Lotus only for casting your commander. Um, I think that this is an interesting card, and I think I'm going to be relatively alone in that opinion. Um, it is a. Oh, there you go. Adam's got it pulled up there. Look at that. It's beautiful. Uh, I think a lot of people are going to be like, "Oh my God, they're basically putting Black Lotus in Commander. What are we going to do?" Well, Black Lotus is already legal in Commander. There's no rule that says you can't run Black Lotus. You just probably don't have one. This allows you to play Black Lotus even if you don't have one, which is like 99% of the people playing or more. Um, I think it's fun. I think one of the big problems with Commander is that you don't get to cast your Commander very often. And this helps eliminate some of that problem. I think the things they're doing with Commander tax are kind of cool. There's a couple cards that forego Commander tax by like paying life or sacking artifacts or something like that in their tax box. And I think that's neat because I don't think people see commanders often enough on the board, and this is a good way to get commanders on the board.
So, resize this real quick. So, I did not know that there were cards. So, there's cards where you can pay 2 life instead of paying an extra 2 mana or whatever.
Yeah, not until this Commander Legends thing, but there in the past there have been things that make you skip commander attacks by having like commander ninjutsu, so you can play it from your command zone if you have an unblocked creature and it takes the place of the unblocked creature, like Zerasan a little bit.
Yeah.
Or there's just a couple of them that say, pay this fee and play directly from the command zone to the battlefield. You don't have to pay the commander cost. You just pay that cost instead. So there have been a couple of things in the past that have been able to get around it. I think there's a legendary with Delve, so you can exile cards from the graveyard to lower its cost by colorless, and that works on command tax as well. But very few cards in the history kind of can forego this casting cost, and they added a couple more in the new set, and like one of them says pay 2 life instead of paying uh, to commander tax, and it's non-negotiable. You don't get to choose whether you pay the commander tax or the 2 life. You pay the 2 life in lieu of the commander tags. So
Gotcha.
that's kind of a cool way to make it so it's like, yeah, if you're playing life gain, this card can come out fairly regularly and not hurt you too much. But if you're not hitting your life gain sources, then it's not like you're going to get to play this card 10 times, you know? And I think those things are neat. I always think it's fun when they give a way around a rule as long as it's not like too good. And I don't know if 3 mana one time in Commander's too good. I know some people will find ways to abuse this. They'll play, Artifact Dig and get it back on the field, and
It is 3 mana of 1 color.
it's
So.
3 mana one color, right? So I can see a lot of people finding ways, and they're just like, 3 mana, use one of it to get it back, then play it again, crack it for 3 mana of a different color. I have 5 free mana this turn, ha ha ha. And it's like, yeah, it'll happen, but just to cast the commander, I mean, unless your commander's the bee's knees, I don't see that being a problem. What do you think?
I'm not really sure. I'm not a commander player for one. So this card really has kind of nothing for me. It looks pretty enough.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on your commander potential, I mean, as long as you have a commander whose initial cost is 4 or less, you're playing at turn 1, potentially. Which I don't know if that's a good thing in commander or a bad thing, or if this is something that you'd be holding on to late game. I don't really know enough about the format to have a big opinion.
I mean, I guess theoretically, if you got just a god opening hand and a really good single color commander, or yeah, probably a single color commander, you could play a 5 to 6 cost commander theoretically on turn 1, which would be rather backbreaking, but it would also require you to have a Soul Ring, this, and a commander that costs 5 or more that's one color that you want to get out. Because since you can only get one color of mana with this, you wouldn't be able to, like, cheat out, like, something like a Traxa, which is one of every color except black. Or one of every color except red, rather. So, like, this isn't going to get you your Omnath Locus of Creation on turn 2. But if you
Is Omnath
Mhm.
still in commander?
Oh yeah. Omnath hasn't been banned in Commander. Commander doesn't ban stuff like Omnath. It lets the people decide whether or not they're willing to put up with it. The way you find out if it's banned in your local group is when you bring it to your local group's Commander game, and they scoop up their cards and go somewhere else.
Sounds fair.
Yeah, it's legit.
Do you think it would be too powerful if it was 3 of any color?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely, because part of the problem with Commander as a format is the restrictions mean you have to play commanders that are harder to cast if you want to have more tools in your deck to deal with stuff. So it's like, well, I want to play green, but I also want black's removal, so I'm going to be playing a green-black commander, and the trade-off is that maybe I won't be able to summon it for the first, 4 or 5 rounds of the table. And maybe by the time I can summon it, it's not going to be as effective on the board. But yeah, if you could drop this and a Soul Ring on turn 1, and you could get out, Nekusar, which is a 3-color commander on turn 1, that's huge. That'd be bad. And
what if instead of it's just tap and sack, what if it was tap and exile or something to make it where you could not rummage for it later?
I think it would be better, but ultimately just being able to get out a powerhouse that's multicolor. I mean, gold colored cards are always like the cards with backbreaking effects, right? Because the trade off is that you have to work harder to cast it. So I don't think that there's a way they could balance a free get 3 mana of any color thing.
Okay.
But one color, I don't see being too much of a problem. I think this card will see competitive EDH play, but I don't think it's going to be something you kick your friend out of the friendly commander game for, because one time he pops off and gets Torbran out on turn 2.
Well, I mean, unless your group has rules like no card can be more than $10.
I mean, that's true. Like there is restrictions, and this card will probably end up being more than $10.
Power level 45. So
yeah. So we'll see, but I think it's cool. I mean, I don't run any commanders that would benefit from it really, but that's because my favorite deck to play right now is Ayula, Queen of Bears. So it would pay the commander tax on playing her out for the second, third time or something like that.
I mean, that's something.
It is. It's nothing to scoff at, but certainly I don't know if it facilitates a spot in my deck. We'll see. Let's move into things. Starting off, I figured we would just kind of talk about Arena and how things have been going and what we've been doing and what we've experienced over the last couple weeks, since there was a ban not too long ago, and now the dust has settled. No.
Oh, okay.
But the dust has settled on the last ban, as far as I'm concerned. Like, now the meta is really starting to form, and I don't love it, but I don't know.
Now, you play almost exclusively Historic.
Usually that's true.
When you're not doing Limited.
Yes.
So has the Historic meta changed a ton?
Historic's meta has not changed a lot, and in fact, Historic is still as healthy and as fun as I have come to know it to be. Right now, there's at least 4 or 5 decks that are floating around, and Soul Sisters is still playable, which is cool. The Goblin deck is pretty strong still. It's pretty oppressive when its combo goes off. Because essentially you can summon like 20 goblins on turn 4, and then you just lose. Like, mono green's still okay. Colorless is doing pretty well. I've seen people attempting to play the big deck Dimir Rogues over in Historic. The big deck from Standard.
That's weird because I don't see that a lot in Standard.
That's interesting. I see Dimir Rogues a lot in Standard. And granted, I play the ranked queue and I'm dealing in Platinum. So I'm starting to deal with people who are trying to just hoof it to the top. But if I play in Standard ranked, I'll see Dimir a lot. So yeah, I did try Standard for a little while. I built that Cheatin deck. It's basically blue-green. It has a splash of red for one particular mutate creature. But it's exactly what Cheatin does. It summons Scoot Swarm, you mutate on top of it, you make 80,000 copies of it, you swing for 1 billion damage.
Was there a card called Scoot Mob? Or did I imagine that being a card?
So, Scoot Mob is a card from original Zendikar. And Scoot Swarm is the new card from the new Zendikar.
What did Mob do? I know what Swarm does. I see it all the time.
Mob is landfall, put counters on it, like 4+1/+1 counters.
Ugh.
So it just gets taller and taller. Yeah. Um, so Scoot Mob is getting taller, Scoot Swarm is getting wider, and all you gotta do is put a Star X on Scoot Swarm to make it a 6/6, and then just copy it and have 127 6/6s on the board. And Arena chugs real bad, but you're probably going to win that game. I had Arena kick me out of a game. I closed my client, restarted, and got back just in time to finish all of my triggers and then quickly pass my turn. And luckily, my opponent gave up after that moment because I'm not sure it actually would have survived me trying to swing with all those creatures. Yeah, that's the first one. Oh, that's right. Beginning of your upkeep, if you control 5 or more lands, put 4+1/+1 counters. So it is a thing for controlling lands. Actually, that's interesting. I wonder if there's a dragon card that's like, if you control 5 or more lands, put a 5/5 dragon on the field. I wonder if that's part of a cycle with this, or if they're just from totally different situations. Me neither. You are muted.
I was muted. I have no idea.
How have you been feeling about things on Arena?
Fine for the most part. I hate the Scutate deck. I hate Mutate just in general. I just don't like it. But Scutate is no fun. That Griffin Airy is no fun when people play that out. Had a match this week. I haven't been playing a ton over the last few weeks, but had a match this week with, I talked to you about it. What's that god?
Thassa.
Yeah, so they were playing Thassa, and some, I don't know, wizard or something, whose ETB effect was bounce a creature back.
Yeah.
And so every turn they would just keep taking my guys back, and I was running landfall. So it didn't matter. I didn't have any time to put counters on people, and even if I did, they would lose them because they just kept throwing them back at me.
Yeah, that was like, I would say right now when it comes to standard, I don't think anything's like broken. I don't think anything's overpowered, but I do think that there's a few things in the environment that kind of makes it not super fun to play. Like, I was playing Scoot, and I would say that Scoot's probably not super fun to play against. It's just like the line is too clear. You're just going straight to Scoot, mutate, copy, win.
Scoot alone is powerful.
Right.
In my landfall deck, I run Scoot, because why wouldn't I?
Yeah.
But with mutate allowing it to be, okay, yeah, why don't you make my Scoot is now a 5/6, and every turn he makes another 5/6, and every other Scoot makes another 5/6.
Yeah.
And there's just nothing you can do. Like, at that point, if you don't have some sort of board wipe, it's just Scoop.
Right.
It should be called Scoop, not Mob. What is it?
Scoop Swarm?
Yeah, Scoop Swarm. That's what it should be called.
I heard that going around for a while.
No, that's original. That's unique. This is the first
100%, 100% original. You guys heard it here first.
It was original.
I
came up with it independently.
I'm not saying that you didn't come up with it independently. I'm saying that it's anyway. My big issue has been with Dimir Rogues. Like, I don't think that it's broken, but I do find it disheartening that your opponent can play a turn 1 Ruin Crab, and that's the only creature that they keep on the board, and still manage to deck you pretty sufficiently. I've played games where I'm taking care of all the rogues because you have to. You can't leave Thought Thief on the board or Thieves Guild Enforcer because they mill you too aggressively. So I just kept getting rid of them as they were popping up, and it didn't matter because every time my opponent played a land, they milled 30 cards from me. So while I was taking care of their aggressors, the one ruin thief or the one ruin crab milled me for like 30, 40 cards. And at that point, you're
200 cards in your deck.
Yeah, the old Battle of Wits finisher. I mean, like, I think that this format would have been okay back when Clear the Mind was in standard, and it's a 2 and a blue for sorcery. Target player shuffles their graveyard into their deck and draws a card, and then so like it would be something you could play against Mill, but you'd still have to draw it, right?
You'd be targeting yourself with it. Okay.
Yeah, you target yourself and shuffle.
I was trying to figure out how that would help you at all. And
yeah, you target yourself and you shuffle your stuff back in. Now that has its own set of challenges that kind of made it a little too good, but things like that are useful in keeping Mill from just like whenever people talk about Mill like it's like a jank situation, and a lot of times that's right, but the reason that's true is because when Mill is a top tier deck to play, it's really, really good.
But Mill usually isn't.
Yeah, Mill as a thing usually isn't, and so people are used to talking about it like, well, what are you talking about? You can beat Mill, but no, when Mill does 9 to 12 milling in a turn, that is a clock, you know, like that's a bigger clock than a 6/6, you know. And so it can definitely be challenging, but like I said, it's not unfair, it's just a pain to play against. But I am enjoying Historic still, and I don't really need to play Standard, so I can always skip it. But I was curious to see what I saw in the things. A lot of the Mill decks are actually evolving into, they start as rogue Mill decks that just want to get enough of your cards in the graveyard so that they can pull the aggro win, you know, get the 8 or more and then just win in with aggro. And then they side into 100% control with Shark Typhoon, which is an enchantment that every time you play a non-creature spell, you get a shark with power and toughness equal to the converted mana cost of the card you played. So you're like, counter that, get a 3/3, and the shark has flying. And so you just keep
sharks have flying.
Yeah, well, it's a Shark Typhoon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with a Sharknado.
Exactly. So you just play
because Magic does not do anything with pop culture, guys.
Remember. Oh man, but yeah, so Shark Typhoon is you'd play it out and then you just control the board, and every time you play a control spell, you get a shark and you just overrun them with flying tokens, and they can't do anything about it. Which is, you know, an interesting thing, and it's always cool when there's a deck in the format that can kind of shift from tempo to control, or from aggro to mid-range or something like that. But darn if it's not inconvenient that there's not another deck that can do that, because you get ready to sideboard against blue-black rogues, and then you're going up against blue-black hard control, and it can throw off your game 2 pretty consistently. But that has never stopped me from playing it in the past, so I doubt it's going to stop anyone else. I don't hear anyone clamoring for any bans right now, so it looks like we have moderately fixed Standard.
I think we should ban the Griffin area. I think we should ban that.
Okay, Adam's calling for banning of Griffinary, which I
Uh, we should ban that guy whose ETB is "Make My Guys Come Back Home."
oh
I have no idea what card it was. I just knew that. I wish I would have scooped about 8 turns earlier.
Yeah. Constant bounce is annoying. For sure. Especially for a landfall deck.
Bounce is annoying. But this was free bounce. Like,
yep. That's what I'm always talking about, right? Is that it's not what a deck does. It's can the deck do it for free? Like in theory, as the person running a deck, it feels really good when you get to play a bunch of free spells. But to the person who's playing against it, it always feels bad when your opponent can do 4 or 5 things in a turn that cost them no mana.
And yes, everybody who's not watching this video, it was like a 2/2 or a 2/3 or something. It would die to a lot of things. But my deck was just full of guys.
Yep.
And I couldn't hit them because they kept coming home.
Yeah. And at some point, when collections get to be bigger, then you have more options to deal with that kind of stuff. But when you're stuck playing with what you got and you end up going against something like that, it gets super annoying. And best of one facilitates that annoyance because it's not like you can just hop into your sideboard, grab your Revoke Existence, and exile Thassa, right?
Yeah.
So I'm with it. All right, let's say we move on to the main topic of today. We're gonna talk about collusion. Specifically, we're going to talk about a story that Adam found. Adam, do you want to talk about what happened with this, or?
I don't have any of the names in front of me, so go right on ahead.
Not a problem. So I'll talk about it. There's a player named Andreas Peterson. Andreas Peterson won the Vintage Eternal Weekend Championship this weekend. And it is possible that he bribed his round 10 opponents to help him get into the top 8. So, just as a quick thing, the Magic Online Vintage Eternal Weekend was a challenge or a tournament or whatever you want to call it that involved playing Vintage, which is all cards are legal, some cards are limit 1 per deck. I think with the exception of Luris. I think Luris has been banned as a companion in Vintage. But this guy played all of his rounds, was doing really good with whatever deck he had brought, and he was streaming his event on his Twitch channel. And then he goes into his round 10 where he is 7-2 at this point. So Peterson's tiebreakers are a little better than his opponents.
They were both 7-2.
Yeah, both 7-2. Peterson's tiebreakers were a little bit better, and Cucini could only make top 16 if he won. Cucini being his opponent.
At least that's what he thought.
Yeah, at least that's what he thought. So, there's a time period that comes up where they were talking on the chat function on MitGo. Peterson congratulates Cucini on his record and then asks him if he wants to concede because he knows that he'll make top 8. And then one of them gives the other one the message of check Twitter.
I've got that up.
Yeah.
By the way.
So they have a quick be right back happen on the screen for about 5 minutes, and they come back with Cucini starting to concede the games 2 in a row. And Cucini ends his stream right away, pretty much after that. He concedes and then ends his stream. But when he's pulling up his stream to begin the raid, you can see, as we have here, his Twitter responses, and it looks like he and Peterson colluded to have him concede for an extra little push. It sounds like he asked for some of the treasure chests that you win on Miko during a tournament like this. It looks like he also got...
I'm going to stop you real quick.
Yeah.
What is the chest?
So it's sort of like arena currency, I think. Like like, you know how on Arena you can like get ICRs, like random cards for playing through stuff. From what I understand, a Miko treasure chest is similar to that. It's like a card like reward.
A major tournament thing, so
right.
I had no idea. One, I never played Miko.
Yeah.
But I also had no idea what prize.
Yeah, I can tell you that for getting first, he got Peterson got 200 of those treasure chests, 900 play points, which are the sort of the tournament point system, and he got some kind of badge indicating that he won the championship, and it has Zendikar Rising on it. I don't know exactly what that's good for because I'm not much of a Miko player, but it certainly means something as far as tournament wins go. So he got 200, and it looks like he gave 25 to Cucini.
So apparently, if you made top 16, your prize was 25.
Yeah,
I'm guessing.
Yeah, something like that is likely the case. Also, real quick, while I'm thinking about it, some of you might be wondering what's the problem with doing this, and I have something put up for you to give you a notion of what's wrong with what's going on. So, my apologies. My system does not keep things the way I want it to.
Both of you.
What? People agree to draw all the time.
Yeah, that's different. He offered you prizes to do it. And that right there, that's collusion, Buster. You're out of here.
So, as that video says, thank you, Loading Ready Run, for putting out in 2013 what we're talking about today. Collusion exists only when someone is offered something for a draw. Technically, choosing to draw in major events is not cheating, even though you're allowed to you're allowed to draw and you're allowed to concede anytime you want during a tournament. It is often used as a last round tactic to get people into the top 8 or into the top 16 by using their tiebreakers effectively to make sure that they get there. There was a big stink about this earlier this year when 2 players drew thinking that they just had it, that both of them would end up in the top 16 if they did it, and one of them didn't make it. And so he felt like he had intentionally drawn and got suckered for doing so. It's his own fault because he intentionally drew. He should have played out the game. And it brought up the ethical question of whether or not we should always play out the game, which I am personally a fan of. I understand the desire to hit that higher level and make sure that you get in. But ultimately, you are in a... like, if someone were to say that they were drawing in a tennis tournament, I think that there would be some questionable things going on there. I don't know for sure, but I've never seen March Madness.
I think you run into a little bit of danger when you compare Magic to real sports.
Yeah. Well, to
Um,
other sports, right?
to actual physical
Yeah.
sports. For one, and there might be sports where this is not the case, but there's all sorts of stories about somebody gets disqualified from like a track meet, even though like the top two people decide to finish together, and then they get DQ'd because the rules actually state you have to like try to win. You can't intentionally like, skew the results.
Yeah.
Magic, though, like from the lower levels and apparently up, kind of has allowed this.
It has. And
But, like how many you've played a lot more Magic than me, but I've done this where you make it to the finals and you go, "Hey man, you want to split?"
yeah.
It's like we could play this out, but it's 5 a.m.
Yeah.
Like we're doing a midnight pre-release.
I was in a Grand Prix Open at one point that the winner got a trip to Atlanta to play in the actual Grand Prix, and we had 8 people there, and it was 4:00 in the morning, and they wanted to kick us out of the convention center that we were sitting in. And so, like, our choices were go out and play in the parking lot in the freezing cold on our cars, or find a way to make a deal. And so everybody just kind of split, and we split all the prize stuff, and except for the flight we gave to the person who was likely to be to win no matter what. Anyway, we kind of took a quick look through the decks because it was a sealed tournament. And it's like, oh, this guy's got 4 mythics in his deck. He's probably in line to win. We'll just throw it to him. And so he got the flight. We all split. We all got like a box or something of Magic and some extra doodads for it. It happens, and the system allows for it, and that's okay. Collusion, when you're basically bribing somebody to allow this draw thing to happen, is not okay. It is in direct violation to Magic's code of conduct, and whether or not you think that intentional draws are all right or against ethical quandaries, collusion is definitely against that code. Go ahead.
I'm going to interrupt real quick.
Sure.
I don't think you can say that one is ethically. You can say that one is ethically right and one is ethically wrong, but the fact that there's a rule in a rule book has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
It is wrong, in my opinion, when you are going to win or you are going to lose, and you intentionally every time wait until your fuse is almost burnt out before you play.
Yeah.
That is wrong. You are wasting my time.
Yeah, bad sportsmanship, which is a violation of the code of conduct.
But they're playing within their time limit. They're just using all their time.
Yeah.
So they're not technically slow playing, I guess. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's fine. And that's the thing. When we talk about ethics, like the rules in the rule book say you can intentionally draw, but you can't collude to do it, right? Or you can choose to concede, but you can't collude to do it. So there's no rule against it. That being said, like in my experience with Magic through the course of the last however long I've been playing, a long time, this happens a lot. Like Peterson and Cucini here were sloppy, like having an open Twitter page that people could see on it, it being very, hey, here's what I'm thinking in the MakeGo client, and then it's like, go over to Twitter so you can see what I'm talking about, that is a very sloppy way of doing this. But I have been at more than one tournament where my opponent has asked me to collude, basically. Like, they'll be like, hey, I'm 6-1 and you're 5-2. If you concede to me, I have a chance for the top 8. I'll give you XYZ to do it. And I usually just refuse because, one, I want to play through. I want to try to get into the top rung myself. And a record against them can do that. But also, I don't think that it's fair to the other people who are playing and trying their hardest to get into this tournament for me to take a bribe and essentially, screw them over by ensuring this person's winning in to the top 8. So, but usually it's done across the table in hushed tones with no one really paying attention. So it's not like I can call my judge over and go, this guy's offering me packs to concede? That's collusion? Can we, it's not caught on any sort of system that would allow people to see that. But I also wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing happen in major play on Arena, where they just have a second window open talking to their opponent, deciding whether or not there's going to be a concession or an intentional draw or whatever. So with that in mind, this isn't as heinous as it looks. It's sort of norm, but the fact that it's out in the open gives us a chance to actually speak on whether or not Wizards should crack down on this. What they could do to keep people from doing this in the future. If it were up to me, intentional draws would not be allowed unless the circumstances had something to do with the amount of time at the venue or something like that. So my earlier example and Adam's earlier example of being up at a pre-release at 4 a.m, and trying to get out of there, that would be a reasonable place to do a split and do an intentional draw. But in a major tournament where they have all the time that they're willing and able, and it's for the gold and it's important and it's 4 points, I feel like that should be a you have to play it out situation. What do you think? You there?
Yes.
You're buried under pictures and.
Actually, I'm going to have to go AFK for a second.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, what I personally think on this situation, I think tournaments should be played out. Major tournaments especially should be played out so that each individual can get what they're supposed to get, can try for the best that they possibly can do. And if you don't want to participate in that anymore, that is what conceding is for. That is what dropping out is for. Like, there are ways for you to remove yourself from the situation. But if they were to do a more strict version of things on what is allowed as far as intentional draws and stuff go, then we would also see a crackdown on collusion, I think.
I don't think there's anything they could really do to stop it. And whether or not you think it actually matters, I do want to point out that Peterson just asked, hey, you want to help me out? The other guy, whose name I don't remember, said, okay, I could only make it to the top 16. You want to give me that prize, the 25 chests, and something more, which we don't really know what is.
Mm-hmm. From what what we can tell is, at the least, he got some kind of prizing. He got a promotion on Peterson's chat. He'll advertise for Kujini, compensate him for top 16, and would tweet that he was a nice guy. Which he did. There was a tweet put out that says, I just got the concession in the last round of Eternal Workshop from the nicest guy. And
I think that was done before. Like before the concession actually happened.
Oh, maybe. Let's see. It says that it was made after, but I'm not 100% certain. But yeah, it looks like we know that it is against the rules to artificially alter the outcome of a league, sanctioned event, or organized game, and collusion falls into that. I do agree. I think that for the most part, there's not really anything they can do. Like, I know what I'd like to see to try to mitigate it, and which is what I said before. But honestly, when people want to cheat, they're going to cheat. They will find a way. It's not unlike the arms race that people have in semi-casual Magic. You know, we were joking about the $10 spending limit earlier, right? But does that count cards that are like busted up condition, so I can play a $50 card if it's been beat up enough to be considered a $10 card? Can I buy $10 of packs and pull a mythic and be allowed to use it? Does that mean I can build a commander deck of $700 or more because every single card in my deck can be exactly $10? You know, and just fill it with the best medium cards I can absolutely pull. So there's always a way around the systems that people put in place. It's better to have a community who just you can trust not to do that with, but in competitive stuff it gets harder because there's money on the line. There's stuff on the line, right? Play points don't do anything necessarily except get them into the next tournament, but there are tournaments that are cash money prizes. And there's a very good chance that he could do something with that, right? And making money, at the end of the day, making money on what you're good at, it can cloud your judgment and make you do all kinds of dumb stuff.
I don't think it had to do with money, though. Like, I think we're ascribing motive, but I think it was just, hey, I can make top 8. Like, you want to give me this so I can get top 8? Oh, well, I can only make top 16. So if you cover me for that, yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
And then he proceeded to win the rest of his games.
Sure. I think, again, like you said, we're prescribing motives, so it doesn't. It's all speculation anyway. From my experience in it, at the top, it usually has something to do with bottom line, like prizes and whatever you win from the event, right? So this guy getting top 8, like, I mean, maybe he just wanted, like, to say that he top 8'd or something like that. And paying out the 16 is easy because whatever he gets for top 8 is going to be more than what they got for top 16, right? Yeah. So he was able to just sort of split his winnings if he had just been like, if he had only gotten 8th, he would have been able to split his winnings off and then said, hey, I'm a top 8 player. But that does affect their bottom line overall. Not only does he get prizes where maybe he wouldn't have before. If the other guy beat him, it would have pushed this guy into the top 16, but it would have pushed Peterson out likely because he would have been 7-3, which wouldn't have been a good enough record to continue in, right? Likely. We don't know, but we have to assume that, otherwise he wouldn't have asked for the concession or a split. But the win will affect his bottom line because he's a streamer, so it'll get people into stream. I've seen people get attracted to a stream that's just like number 1 mythic on Arena playing XYZ, and people will come in and watch it just because they want to see what the number 1 mythic plays like. So the champion of the Eternal Vintage weekend is playing Vintage on Mitgo. That would be a reason to come in and see him. More followers, more bottom line, more subscribers potentially. All those things will affect.
I'm not saying that making top 8 doesn't come with those things.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying that it doesn't have to be about prize payout.
Sure.
Like just saying, in 2020 I made 6 top 8s.
Yeah.
Or something like that means something.
Yeah.
You do it enough times, you might get in the Hall of Fame or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if that's all you care about is people knowing who you are.
Sure, yeah.
You can monetize that for sure.
Yeah.
But
yeah. And especially in WotC's system, because the more you win, the more likely you are to get invited to stray events that you might not have made it into before. Because there are events that WotC holds that they're just like, yeah, and we're inviting this person. This person doesn't play this format ever, but they have like 10 top 8s in other formats, so we decided to go ahead and give them a shot in the Mythic Championship or something like that, and that has a substantial prize pool, substantially less than it used to have because of things going on right now, but it's a good amount of money. It's not anything to sneeze at. And again, like, I don't know this guy. Maybe he is just about the recognition. Maybe he's about the money. Maybe he just wanted to win. Maybe he just wanted to feel good, But collusion is not only against the rules. It's not something that you want to be known for within the Magic sphere, because it doesn't show mastery over the game. It shows that you know how to play the politics of the room and you're not afraid to spend a little money to get what you want. And I don't think that's in the spirit of the game, personally.
what is the spirit of the game?
Well, for me, it's casting a turn 3 Phyrexian Obliterator and making sure my opponent has to sack all their lands in order to not die. And then...
so the spirit of the game, make sure nobody's having fun.
Yeah, there you go. See, you're with me.
Yeah, I can see why this is against the spirit of the game. Because Peterson was like, oh, hey, I'll have fun. I'll make top 8. You'll have fun. You ask for these things, and I'm giving them to you. We're both having fun.
Yep. See, that's against the spirit of the game.
I thought spirit of the game was the guy you played against randomly anteed his most valuable card, and you get to walk away with it.
Oh yeah, the way Garfield intended, baby. Oh,
that's
man.
right.
No, I mean. And at the end of the day, I mean, like, I'm an idealist. I think that the game, like, you want to play a game because you're having fun playing. You want to continue. You don't want to concede or draw with an opponent because it gets you one less game, you know, and it gets you less time to potentially enjoy things. But At the same time, I know that that's sort of a me thing, and that not everybody sees it that way. But
Well, let me ask you this.
mm-hmm.
Earlier, you said the only reason you should be able to split is if you've been at the venue for too long or something like that.
Yeah.
What happens if just something comes up and you have to go?
I have been in positions like that, and what I do is concede. Like, if the other person is also showing signs of needing to go, I'll be like, do you want to split? Because, again, this is like an emergency, we need to get out of here situation.
But I mean,
But,
you're not finishing the game.
yes. And if
Like either way, you're just conceding the games to your opponent.
right.
Like no packs are changing hands or anything,
Mm-hmm.
but you're still giving them the win.
Yeah, and there's a little bit of a problem with that, but when you're speaking about real life getting in the way, sometimes you have to concede, and sometimes that means that your opponent might move on when they wouldn't have. But that is not a question of I'm making it so he can move on. I have to go. Real life is in my way, and I have.
But I'm saying there's no way to make that distinction.
There's no way for Wizards to make that distinction. Individually, at the community level, we should be able to handle it, be able to do the right thing. But no, I agree. There's no way for Wizards to know if I'm leaving because I literally have to go. And that's what I was saying earlier, was that I have people ask me on Collusion all the time. Like I used to have it happen at Friday Night Magic on occasion. Like just someone being like, hey, I really want to see how this deck does in top 8. I'll give you XYZ if you'll concede. And I say no, but I know that there would be people who would all of a sudden be like, actually, I got kind of a scratchy throat. I'm going to head out. Go ahead and give Zach the win. I'm going to go. And by the way, there's nobody named Zach. Zach is a nobody. That's not.
How many times, though, have you seen somebody round 1 lose and just walk out?
Sure, yeah, exactly, right? Like,
yeah, I can't. I'm not going to make top 4. Like it's a waste of my time to be here.
Mm-hmm. And by quitting that early, they do affect tiebreakers for whoever played them in the first round. Like, that was one thing I used to try to discourage when I was working at the card shop, because I'm like, I understand that you lost round 1 and you don't think that like it's worth it anymore, but by dropping and just leaving and being out, you ruin your round 1 players' tiebreakers for the rest of the night. So if he goes 3-1 and some other dude goes 3-1, and that's the difference of getting into the top 4, you've ruined it for him because you left because you can't place now. Like, and so I used to try to discourage that, but it falls under the same thing. People are going to do what they're going to do, and you can't suss out their motives. Some people would do that because they knew it ruined tiebreakers for people. And some people did it because they just didn't feel like playing anymore. They wanted to go into the top 8. They didn't get a round 1 win, so they know that they're not set in a good place to get top 8. They split. Or they really want a milkshake, and they leave because they want a milkshake. The outcome is the same to their opponent, but their motives are different, and you can't differentiate between that on the tournament organization level. So you just got to try to build a community that doesn't do that unless they have to,
Oh, you think?
Yes.
I personally, I don't really see anything fundamentally wrong with what happened with Peterson. And what is the other guy's name?
Cucini.
Cucini?
Yes. Or Ciccini, possibly. But
whatever he is.
Yep. I do see a problem with it because on the just from a textbook rules case, paying somebody's winnings out is collusion.
No, there is a rule against it. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. This is that ethical thing I said earlier. Just because there's a rule in the rule book about it doesn't mean it's right or wrong.
Mel, and thanks for showing up. I put the article in for you so that you can give a look at it.
Somebody's here?
Yep.
Well, hello, whoever you are.
So I get what you're saying. You don't see any ethical dilemma there. I personally don't like it as a situation. I think that it looks bad. It's not good for allowing people who earn to win to get to where they're going. But ultimately, people are going to do it.
It only looks bad though if you think it's bad. Like,
yeah.
And I don't like. Why does it look bad? Well, it looks bad because Wizards say you shouldn't do it, and you say you shouldn't do it, so you think it looks bad.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm in a tournament and basically I'm not going anywhere, like I did good. I went 7-2. I'm in the 10th round. I'm playing against another 7-2 guy, but I know that my tiebreakers are garbage. Like maybe I'll top 16. And do I really want to keep spending my time? Or if it's like, okay, I could battle this out, maybe get my 25 chests. Or just be like, hey man, like let's just make this easy. You give me the 25 chests, promote my stream. We'll call it good.
Mm-hmm. And I get where you're coming from on that, but from what I hear on it, is it's like, what is my time worth? That is my price tag. That's my price tag for giving up this game. Is whatever my time is worth. So my time would be worth top 16. That is my price tag for giving you top 8. Which, to me, sounds like bribery. Or sounds like blackmail. In this case, we're talking collusion because in this particular case, it was brought to him whether or not he wanted to concede, and then said, "This is my price tag for concession." But the ideas behind it, I think, are the same, personally. And not everybody's going to feel that way, and I think that it's okay to be the kind of person who's okay with that, because the system allows it to happen just by existing in the way that it does. It's a viable thing. So, if you don't think that you're gonna continue on, getting prizing for it is a good compensation, right? But I don't know. I think about the other players who might have made it into the top 8 with their win records if Peterson had lost that battle. And I'm like, they just got screwed out of their chance to do it because someone was willing to take top 16 prizing to give it to them.
There's a lot of ifs in there, though.
Yeah, I mean...
The people who might make it if they won, if Peterson didn't win,
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like Peterson was at, like, down to 1 life and was like, hey, man, if I win, I'm going top 8. You can only make the top 16.
Sure.
Just give this.
Sure, I don't personally find there to be a structural difference between being on the ropes and doing it, or doing it prior to the games even starting. But
I think there's a huge difference between, hey, I want to make top 8, I will give you these things, and hey, do you want to concede and let me go top 8? Which there's nothing in the rule book against that, right? Mm-hmm. And the other guy's saying, yeah, like I will if you give me this. Mm. Like I think that those are two different things.
I think...
and the first scenario, hey, will you concede? I'll give you 25 chests. The second scenario, will you concede? If you give me 25 chests, I will. They both end up with the second person, or the person B, getting 25 chests, person A getting the win. But it happened completely differently.
So they're both collusion. It's just who's instigating the collusion. Like, if you say, hey, can I win? I'll give you this. You are instigating the collusion. If you say, hey, can I win? And the other person says, only if you give me this, then they're instigating the collusion. But once the agreement is made, both players are guilty of collusion. Like, once the deal is struck, collusion is done. That's why both people tend to get disqualified on a collusion charge.
But where is the difference between me and you? Let's say first place gets 20 packs, second place gets 10 packs. We're in the finals, and I go, hey, man, do you want to just call it a draw? We each take 15 packs home. Like, what's the difference there?
Theoretically,
one of us is giving 5 packs to the other one. That's what's happening.
The difference is the stakes and the allowance of it by the way the rules speak. Because I'm not saying, hey, I'll give you 5 of my packs, you let me take first and I'll take second. We're doing an intentional draw that the rules do allow for, even though I don't personally prefer that. The rules do allow for an intentional draw for us to both tie for first and split the prizing. If I were to say, let me take first, I'll give you 5 packs. That way my name can be on the first slot and your name will be on the second place slot. That's collusion, which is against the rules.
Even though functionally there's no difference.
Functionally for your prizing, there's no difference. Functionally for the idea of I got first versus I tied for first could make a difference in the long run on tournament points and moving forward in things. But at an F&M where the stakes are low, usually I'm like, okay, I don't like it, but okay. You know, it's an F&M. Nothing happens. This is a major sanctioned tournament that had tournament points that lead into other tournaments. It was also something that people had eyes on because it was a major event. At that point, you got to start wondering what you're willing to do on TV.
So there's something called, there's an idea just called drift. Mm-hmm. And, all right, I know you personally. Mm-hmm. The speed limit sign, you're driving down the highway. Speed limit sign says 60 miles per hour. Mm-hmm. It's a nice day out. Mm-hmm. What does your speedometer say?
Usually 70.
Usually 70. Mm-hmm. But the rule is that it should be 60.
Sure.
Okay, the car immediately in front of you, what does their speedometer say?
70, 75.
The one behind you?
70, 75.
The one to your right?
Sure.
One coming at you. Mm-hmm. So the rule is 60 miles per hour, but everybody around you says, okay, it says 60, we'll do 10 to 15 over that.
Mm-hmm.
And just everybody does that, except for me. I do 5 over because in my head, 5 over doesn't really count.
Mm-hmm.
If you go 10 over, then you're going to get a ticket.
Mm-hmm.
But we've all decided, okay, that's a number. It's okay, though, to tack on this 5 to 10 to 15 miles on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody tries to hide it.
Mm-hmm.
If at the Friday, at the F&M level, at the local game shop level, we're all saying, okay, we'll do these splits. Or we will technically collude. And everybody just lets it go. As a community, the culture is saying that's okay. That's why these two people on a stream, they were streaming, discussed it back and forth openly.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't feel they needed to hide it because...
Well, so they didn't need to hide it, but the collusion itself was done on Twitter as opposed to in the MIGCO forum where things were being streamed live. I don't think that we saw this Twitter conversation on purpose. I think that was an accident. It was being brought to Twitter because it was trying to be done outside of the realms of the tournament where all eyes could see.
Or it was taken to Twitter because there was personal information involved. Like we don't really know what was going on there.
I mean, we have the conversation. I mean,
no, we have little bits and pieces of it.
I mean, unless right under those bits that we see where he's talking about, I will give you XYZ, we also have there, by the way, my real name is blank blank and my address is da 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 and my social security number is this. There's no personal information there that is being hidden by the chat scroll. Like, it's hiding details of what they're getting, but there's no like thing showing a thing. Yeah, and the person put up a be right back sign so that he could have this conversation in private. I think that it's very much this was taken to Twitter so that it would not be recorded for things. They just weren't expecting to accidentally slip up and show it on camera.
Except this right here. If you give me this stuff, I'll do it. Followed by him conceding. Like, do you think that Wizards would be cool with you sitting down? Let's say that you go to a Grand Prix. They still have Grand Prix. Is that still a thing?
Let's pretend like it is for the sake of this conversation.
Is it not? What is it now?
I don't know, man. That right now there's not anything because.
Well, I mean, right now it's Blake times, but
right. But they've been changing things left and right. I couldn't tell you, but
you go to a Grand Prix,
sure,
and with a judge with Morrow, Garfield, and the entire Blur cast, right there. You say, "Hey, opponent, I will give you $50 if you cede." Like if you just give up right now. And they say no. Will they go, well, nobody actually changed any results. Everything's good. Or would you get kicked out?
I don't know. From what I understand of it, if there were witnesses who could attest to the collusion that don't have anything to do with me or the opponent, I could be kicked out because I am attempting collusion. I'm attempting to bribe them out of the game. Whether or not it was successful, it wouldn't matter. And as far as this situation goes, we haven't seen the end of this yet. Like, we don't know what Wizards or what the group running the the Vintage Tournament are going to do about this particular conversation, because I don't know when this happened. It was, let's see, the date on the article was yesterday, 2 days ago, and
It was over the weekend.
yeah, and it looks like the story at this point on Reddit has over 700 comments, according to the article. So it's something that Wizards will have had their eye on by now. Whether or not they're going to do anything about it, that's a Wizards situation. But it is in the rules. It's in the Code of Conduct and against the rules to attempt to artificially alter the outcome of a tournament. And by doing this, it artificially alters the outcome of a tournament. Or it's at least a solid attempt. Because there's no guarantee that Peterson would have lost. But there's no guarantee you would have won either.
Do you actually have the rules?
Well, I can pull it up. Let's see.
My problem is that there is a card called collusion.
Let's see. Screen names. No harassment or bullying. Do not impersonate others. Do not disrupt chat. Do not advertise in Magic Online. Do not attempt to officially alter or the outcome of a league, sanction event, or organized game. For example, bribing or offering compensation in order to change the game's outcome, or stalling, spamming, harassing, and behaving in an unsportsmanlike manner that affects the game. Those are the two things. Specifically, bribing or offering compensation in order to change the game's outcome. Now, there certainly you can make the argument that he could have won, but I don't think that changes that this was a bribe or a offer of compensation, or at least it was an acceptance of an offer of compensation in order to change the game's outcome, or to guarantee the game's outcome. So. There's also some question as to whether or not this violates rule number 12, which is do not cheat, steal, or defraud Wizards or other players. Because depending on how you look at that as a thing,
that would be a stretch.
It'd be a stretch, but an argument could be made. If an argument can be made that that he wasn't offering compensation to change the game, but instead to confirm the game's outcome, then you could also stretch the other way and say that this is an attempt to defraud other players.
I've never tried to make the argument that he was confirming an outcome. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that it's not really that big of a deal, that it happens, and I don't see any way for them to make it not happen.
Mm-hmm. I think that while I think it is a big deal, I do agree that there's not a lot they can do unless it's caught on some sort of evidence like this particular one is. They definitely can do something about this if they want to, because there's records of it, there are things that show what happened and what goes on. But
and I think the fact they openly made the offer, mm-hmm. like I said, just indicates that they didn't think there was anything wrong with it.
I don't.
And I know you keep saying, well, that's why they went to Twitter, so it wouldn't be in the open. But the offer is already out in the open. Mm-hmm. At that point, Peterson mm-hmm. should say, no, I was joking, we're playing this out, if they thought it was wrong. Because the other guy, whose name I'm not going to try to say, the other guy made an attempt through bribery or whatever to change the outcome of a match.
Yeah. I'm not saying it's not sloppy. I just don't think that because they were weirdly sloppy about it means that they thought that it was okay. Like I don't think that they ever looked at it and went, "Oh yeah, this is something that is allowed by Wizards, something that we don't have to worry about." I think that they were just messy about it. I think that throwing it into one place and then being like, "Oh, let's whisk this away out of sight," was their way of trying to cover up things, but it wasn't. It just wasn't a good cover up, personally. But again, I don't know these guys. Maybe they thought that this was okay. If they did, then they should still be punished for collusion and be taught that it's not okay, because that's how you keep people from doing it in the future. Is you punish people when you catch them doing it. You know, it doesn't stop all the speeders out there, but will make them slow down every once in a while when they think they have eyes on them, which is where the tournament values lie.
All right. Well, I think we have beat this dead horse until.
I think so too. Man, that went longer than expected. But, you know, as always, I would like to know what you guys out there think. Maybe you agree with Adam. Maybe you agree with me. Maybe you don't agree with either one of us. You think we're both stupid. Let us know.
In fact, the person who is watching us on Twitch, you forgot to make this live on YouTube.
I didn't forget. It was showing live.
You left it unlisted.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Twitch people, you got any questions? Anything you want to chime in with?
Yeah, we can stop for a second for Q&A.
I mean, did you have anything else?
No, that's fine. I was just going to start doing our cleanup step. But
we actually have an audience for once, so
yeah, we'll see.
Try to interact.
Something to add? Yeah. Let's see.
Man, it looks like everyone's saying this Adam guy needs to find his own channel. I disagree. I'm gonna just keep messing up Matt's streams.
Nah, I think it's good to have output that's different than your own. Like I don't. Just because we don't agree on this doesn't mean it didn't cause anything. Forgot that you had that. Oh man. No, I think it's good to go over things with someone who doesn't agree with you, because it might point out some flaw in your logic that you might double down on what you believe and feel like you can explain it better the next time that you talk about it. But yeah, it doesn't look like anybody's got anything to say in the chat, so pull that down. It's all true. All right, guys. Well, like I said before, let us know what you think in the comments below. You know, tell us whether you think that this is okay. What you think Wizards could do to prevent it. If you don't think it's all right, figure out what this kind of situation crops up. As always, check out the channel, subscribe, like it if you like what you see. Give us a comment and engage and let us know that you want to see more or less of this kind of stuff. I've got some big project in the work, but it's going to take some time. So hopefully in the meantime, we'll at least get together once a week and do something, whether it's a video or a shallow end or something coming up. We have the Ko-fi, kofi.com/knowledge pool. If you want to try to help us out with financial stuff and get us so that we can do cool stuff, go ahead and give us a coffee and donate there, and that'll help us out. And I don't think there's anything else. Anything you want to add?
No. Everybody be nice to each other.
Be nice to each other.
Oh, yes. I do have something to add.
Oh.
Go vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please go vote.
Next Tuesday, go vote.
Yep.
Please.
Even if it means inconveniencing yourself, go vote.
Especially if you're inconveniencing yourself. Go vote.
Go vote. Make the world a
If you're
better
in
place.
America, I have no idea when voting times are for the rest of the world.
Yeah.
Please, everybody vote.
Please, everybody vote. Okay. That's good a thing to go off on. Guys, thanks for watching, and we will catch you next time.
All right,
Bye.
bye.